The industrialisation of farming has long been linked to concern for the welfare of animals. Wider issues have come to light recently, which many would not consider. Today I'm talking to Philip Lymbery, Chief Executive of Compassion in World Farming, about the impact of factory farming and the aims of the organisation. Could you tell us how and why Compassion in World Farming was set up?
Well, Compassion in World Farming was set up by a dairy farmer called Peter Roberts in 1967, mainly because he became extremely concerned at the rise of factory farming. Compassion's mission today, as it was then, is to see an end to factory farming and to see animals treated with decency and respect.
For anyone not aware of your organisation, could you briefly outline your main animal welfare concerns in factory farming?
Well, factory farming is essentially producing animals on an industrial scale. It's mass farming, using breeding techniques, using feeding techniques, which takes them to the edge of their physiological limits. And all too often, the animals break down as a result.
What would you say have been Compassion's biggest achievements so far?
Well, Compassion in World Farming is very proud of its track record, never satisfied, but very proud of our record to deliver. I think the things which we've been instrumental in driving through include Europe-wide bans on some of the worst factory farm systems. We've persuaded the European Union, for example, to legally recognise animals as sentient beings, recognising that they do have welfare needs, that they do feel pain and suffer, and that these things should be taken into account when formulating European law.
People are becoming more aware of what they eat and where it comes from. Can you explain how your message ties in with this?
Well, keeping animals in decent conditions, in higher welfare conditions, also improves food quality. People recognise free-range eggs, for example, not only as eggs that have come from hens that have had access to the outdoors and therefore haven't been caged, but they also perceive a quality. Factory farming produces food that on the face of it may look cheap, but then when you take into account the public health disadvantages, the impacts on public health associated with factory farming, the environmental impacts, the huge grain drain that is associated with wastage of vital food resources that's involved with factory farming, not to mention the huge unimaginable scale of the cruelty, then you can see that there is a huge cost to that apparently cheap piece of meat.
Greater links are being made between eating responsibly farmed foods and the benefits to human health. What's your view?
Factory farming puts too many animals in too small a space and acts as a breeding ground, a pressure cooker for disease. Cutting corners around the way we treat livestock has already thrown up public health threats such as mad cow disease, BSE. Factory farming does threaten public health.
Why would you say that the alternative kind of farming that you promote is more sustainable?
Well, our vision is for a humane and sustainable way of producing food that looks after the welfare of the animals and ensures that everyone can be fed well and fairly. Factory farming uses a huge amount of resources at great cost, wastes a lot of food, and actually drives up food prices worldwide. We can feed the world fairly and properly without factory farming.
Moving away from the UK, what's your plan for Europe?
The EU is a key battleground for us and is one where we've had some very major successes. Compassion continues to put a great deal of emphasis in connecting with, engaging and lobbying key decision makers in Britain, across Europe and at intergovernmental organisation level, so UN, Food and Agriculture Organisation, for example, to make sure that the voice of animal welfare is heard, that the voice of sane, sustainable farming is heard, and to ensure that when policy is being drawn up, that factory farming is ruled out, and that a fairer, humane and sustainable farming future is seen as the best way.
Finally, what does Compassion hope to achieve in the long term?
Well, our vision is a world where farm animals are treated with compassion and respect, and we want to see an end to factory farming worldwide. We want to see that in a lifetime. We want to see that by 2050 at the latest, worldwide factory farming ended in favour of humane and sustainable food and farming.